go ahead and taxi her out and get her up in the air. Here we go.
Flaps 50. Flaps up.
What's going on, guys? Today we're unboxing the UMX Timber X, and for those of you guys who've ever unboxed a UMX model, well, guess what? There's not a whole lot to it. Oh my gosh, look, we've unboxed it. It's unboxed. There we go, all set up. That was really hard. I should have totally done a live stream on that, am I right? So I would have too, but considering it just takes so little time to do this, we're just gonna go ahead and fly as is. I have the floats too, so assuming this plane survives, which I have no doubt that it will, we're gonna go ahead and set it up for floats. We're gonna fly it on a 300 milliamp 3-cell Spectrum Smart battery. I've got some hook and loop tape applied to it, so it's not gonna go anywhere while we fly this thing. We're gonna be flying it at the lake at Loch Lomond here in Cary, North Carolina. And we are, of course, flying this on behalf of Hangar 18 Hobbies here in beautiful Cary. So, without any ado, see how she handles on the ground? Look at those ridiculous throws. This thing's, he's over there laughing on the camera. It's got pretty decent ground handling. I mean, this is not really an airport runway by any stretch of the imagination. So we're just gonna take it. There we go, over the lake. Getting it trimmed out.
Battery 11.9 volts. 20 seconds.
That's got a crazy roll rate for a UMX plane, man. I'm used to the UMX Timber Turbo. I could have flown this on my cul-de-sac. I probably should have. Let's see if it'll Harrier while we're out here above the water. Little wing rocky.
Snap flaps.
With the Harrier flap mixing, it works great. Got the flapperons pointed up.
11.7 volts.
It's a little wing rocky,
Wing normal.
but nothing I didn't expect from a UMX plane. The wind's kind of kicking up a little bit. All right. I think that mostly trimmed it out for the most part. We'll see. Does not want to do rolling Harriers very well. It could be also because there's enough of a headwind where it's not going to do it. Rudder is very effective, trying to keep it in a knife edge, and it's using more stick input than I'd like to admit to keep it level. Whoa! Let's try a knife edge spin. It does it for a moment. Interesting. The wind's really kicking up, and like an 8-mile-an-hour wind is actually quite heavy for a UMX plane. Let's bring it in kind of close to Tony so we can get a good look at it.
Battery 11.6 volts.
This thing could fly on very little throttle. It is definitely heavier than the Turbo Timber. Let's bring her up into a hover up in the air. Unlike the Turbo Timber, it actually has the ability to hover without feeling like you're going to run out of power.
2 minutes.
I don't have to use the whole pack to do it. Although it does feel a little tail heavy, but that could also be the wind. I'm not entirely certain yet.
11.4 volts.
There we go. Okay, she's a little unstable. Let's do some other stuff with it. Let's try knife edge to crankshaft up there. Well, it just ain't doing it. It's just too windy out here. Screw it though, I don't care. Just do crankshaft. Cool. You can see it getting jostled around by a little bit of turbulence. Try inverted flight. Oh, it's almost neutral. It's almost hands off.
11.1 volts.
I want to hover it right above the water, but it's not stable enough for that. Roll rate. I think it's pretty cool. Kind of does rolling Harriers. It doesn't really want to in this wind, but it kind of does them.
Battery 11.2 volts.
Let's get up and try inverted Harrier while we're up here doing all this stuff. We got plenty of power left. Pull out of that. That was feeling weird. Let's do it against or with the wind. or not. Man, it's just so turbulent. It's having a hard time. Like, I'm just feeling weird about it. All right, we'll go into the wind. Yeah, it's gonna have to be a less windy day to really figure out how it does it, but we'll do it one more time.
Battery 11 volts.
Okay, I think I got it. Kinda. Getting there. Let's see if it'll flat spin. That's something else we haven't tried yet. Get her up nice and high. I'm betting it will with those giant stabs that it's got. Oh yeah, look at that thing go. Throttle's right out of it. Let's try a blender next. See if we can get her to do that.
4 minutes.
Nice and high. Contrary aileron. Oh yeah, dude, this little thing's cool. I'm gonna be flying this in front of my house most of the time, I think. Let's try the flapper on, see how they work.
Flaps full.
Whoa, that's a little bit of pitch. Let's try takeoff flaps instead.
50.
That's much better
Flaps
feeling.
up.
We may have to land without thrust to really get an idea. Check,
Battery 11 volts.
still plenty of power. Yeah, you can make this thing do a lot of cool stuff.
6 volts.
But I think we're getting ready to land it here in a moment. Let's get it. Let's go plan for an approach. Gonna come right behind you, Tony, or right in front of you, hopefully, on that path you're standing on. Okay, getting lined up for an approach here. I'm gonna land without flaps. It's just a little weird feeling.
11.1 volts.
Got it down safe. Had to jump out of the way. I don't know if he caught that on film, but it came home unscathed, and we're good to go. Cool little bugger. I'd say it's pretty sweet. We're gonna fly it with floats here in a second so we can actually do stuff on the water with it and not feel so unencumbered by having to land on this tiny little stretch of pavement that is the walking path around Loch Lomond. So far, my initial impressions are I like the quality. It's really good. I mean, look at these control surface deflections. Ton of elevator authority, ton of rudder authority. I actually maxed everything out as much as I could. It flies pretty good. I like it. Everything looks solid, and the fact that it can fly on 3 cells is pretty sweet too. We'll do some more thoughts on it in just a bit. What's going on, YouTube? So we're not entirely sure if we're going to use this footage or the footage from earlier, but either way, this is the maiden day of the E-flite UMX Timber X. This thing is just adorable. And the wind has finally settled down enough that we can actually fly it off of the water here rather than off of this really narrow stretch of pavement, which is actually more than what it really needs to fly. So we can do 2 things. We can either hand launch, which is what we did earlier, or we can just put it in the water, which is, I think, what we're going to end up doing. While it's on the water, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some of the features it's got. Look at it, just windmill. It just does, even the slightest breeze can windmill it pretty good. Huge control surfaces, flapper-ons, and massive throws. For a UMX plane, this is quite impressive, honestly. All right, let's go ahead and taxi her out and get her up in the air. Here we go.
Flaps 50. Flaps up.
We're going to go ahead and cut here. The plane flies great on floats, but the problem is that it's just too small to track well with a camcorder at the distances we were shooting from. Plus, it's also really fast for its size, so let's move on to my GoPro Hero 10 hat cam footage in a different location.
A little wing rocky, but less than I was expecting it to. Get it lower to the water. Makes a nice Harrier landing. I had full stick input on that.
Snap flaps.
The flaps are of limited use, unfortunately. So it's kind of a situation where, like, I want to use them, but I don't know where I can get the center of gravity on this thing balanced to where it's actually going to fly as well as it should. So let's check that CG again real quick and see what it's doing and where it's actually currently at. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's all the way through the center of the what do you call it? The rear window there. The full-size Timber X does the same exact thing too. So if you have too much tail weight and you go to add flaps without any thrust, it instantly goes right toward the ground if it's tail heavy. So anyway, guys, overall verdict, I'd say this is a pretty solid, I don't know, I'd say about a 7 out of 10 so far, because it shouldn't be tail heavy on the recommended battery setup, and it should not be flying as wonky as it is. I was hoping to get more performance out of it. Presentation and everything else is phenomenal, but it's just not performing to the level I want it, and I'm having to give it tons of down trim to get it to fly level. Again, that's a consequence of tail heaviness. If I didn't have to have that much trim, I wouldn't have it on there. So we're gonna have to wrap this up. So far, I like it, but I think there's room for improvement, and I think we can maybe figure out what to do to make it fly a little bit better. See you guys again next time.
2 days later, I brought the UMX Timber X back out to Jack Smith Park, which is right down the street from my house here in Cary, North Carolina. It is a park flyer after all.
Again, we're flying it on behalf of Hangar 18 Hobbies here in beautiful Cary, North Carolina. Really like getting to work with those guys. And we actually are in Cary for once, so normally we're buzzing around somewhere else. But today we are actually in Cary at Jack Smith Park. Let's go ahead and let it initialize. I turned the stick cam on this time so you guys could get an idea of the maneuvers that it takes to get this thing to fly. It's a pretty stable little model. On 3S, it's got a lot of power. It's much better than the UMX Turbo Timber. All right, let's get her up.
Snap flaps.
So I got the snap flaps running and I got the Harrier going. Got a little girl chasing my model out there. Good thing it's a UMX plane, so it can't really hurt anything if it hits anybody, but we're not gonna hit anybody. Let's put it into a rolling Harrier so you guys can see the stick movements for that. Shit, they're chasing it like crazy. And all the kids over there are like, whoa, that's so cool. Let's go pick her up into a flat spin so you guys can see the stick commands for that.
1 minute.
It has no problem flying here. I mean, this place is actually almost too big for it. I need to trim the elevator mechanically. I had to give it a ton of trim. You might be able to see it on the screen if I didn't crop out the part of the screen that shows that. Let's put it into a knife edge circle. So stable if you give it the right inputs. Let's backflip with snap flaps. Ridiculous amount of throw on that. Sorry about the kids screaming, they're out there having fun. Get some inverted performance going, maybe inverted Harrier. There we go. Look at her go. Inverted Harrier is actually not bad at all on this model. The day I was flying it with Tony, I was trying to do stuff with it, and it was very windy, and you could see it obviously getting affected by the wind. So let it just get a little lower to the ground. Doing my best here. It's kind of touchy. It wants to fly upside down because it is still kind of tail heavy. There we go. There we go. Because it's so tail heavy, actually the inverted performance is really easy. I can be hands off the stick. Look at it go. It barely goes forward at all. Ridiculous amount of throws on this thing. Hammerheads on a dime.
Snap flaps.
Let's get it into regular Harrier. The Timber X is actually pretty good at Harriers. I'm not surprised that this one is too, but it kind of needs that Harrier mix to keep it from being super wing rocky. It is a little wing rocky. Let's get it a little closer to us without hitting myself in the head, of course. So I can get it to be a little higher with some more throttle. There we go.
Wing normal.
Bring it into a hover.
Battery 11.3 minutes.
Plenty of power left. Hovers aren't the best on this model, even with the tail heaviness that it's got. It's just a UMX plane. It gets blown around even by the slightest gust of wind. But overall, I mean, if you guys want to do a 3D capable plane in your own cul-de-sac, this is the one to do it with. Honestly, it's a good price for 160 bucks. It's well built. It flies really well. The inbuilt AS3X that you can't even change is always active, and it does a really good job of keeping it stabilized. I mean, I'm up here doing knife edge circles, and they look pretty precise, and I'm not having too many problems with it. Let's make her go up and do a tail slide back into a flat spin again.
4 minutes.
Okay, snap roll. Full rudder, full contrary aileron, full elevator, and some throttle. Gotta watch out for those kids that are chasing the plane. Let's get it back into rolling Harrier. Running out of power, unfortunately, and I've got visitors who are gonna make this more complicated than it really needs to be, but if I didn't want to fly around people, I would have gone somewhere else.
10.9 volts. Snap flaps.
But at least they're not walking directly into the plane's path. That's always nice to see. I can only record for a few more minutes until the GoPro decides to give up the ghost and gets too hot. But I mean, look at how good this thing performs. Let's put it upside down, try the Harrier mixing upside down. Not too bad so far.
Wing normal.
Harrier mixing doesn't do much though, but it's not too horrible.
5 minutes.
There we go, a little bit of rudder to turn her around. Backflip over itself.
Flight pack 10.7 volts.
Ridiculously capable model, really is. And it's fast too. All right, let's try flapper on, see how it responds. Full flapper on's coming in. Got a pretty strong pitch up. I need to trim that out. But it's actually helping slow it down significantly. There we go. Good stuff. We'll come back here in a little bit with it. I got to charge the batteries. I brought my battery pack, as you guys can see over there, and my portable lithium power station. But overall, man, I'm loving this plane. For a UMX plane, solid 8 out of 10. Really, really good stuff.
Battery.
Hey guys, we are back with the UMX Timber X. Of course, flying this on behalf of Hangar 18 Hobbies here in beautiful Cary, North Carolina. Stick cam is on so you guys can see how to fly this thing, get the most out of it. Let's put it directly into a hover. I got a lot of people hanging around with me right now. With the snap flaps, it's very easy to kind of recover from a crappy hover. There we go.
20 seconds.
It's kind of unassuming when you fly it. Like, a lot of people aren't going to think that it can hover or do what it can do.
30 seconds.
So let's bring it up. Bring it in real quick. We're gonna get ready to hover it again. Maybe get a better one this time around. Okay, torque rolling. Torque rolling is very weird. It's not spinning the way I want it to. I gotta hold some weird back pressure on the elevators here. Turn off the snap flaps, that might help a little bit. It's not the best hovering model I've ever had, but the fact that it can do it at all is pretty impressive. Let's see if we can force it to torque roll. Get it back in.
1 minute.
Oh, no bueno. That's okay. All right, let's put it into a rolling Harrier. Okay, take it up. We're gonna make it go up and go right into a flat spin. Snap right into it. See how it does with no throttle. Add some throttle at the end.
Snap flaps.
Okay, and get the Harrier mixing going in. Nice. It can go up a bit. Line of sight, basically. Watch out, guys. I don't want you to get too close to it. Thank you. So yeah, it's still a little wing rocky when we're in Harrier like this with the nose pointed up. The wings do kind of alternate between lifting and falling.
2 minutes.
But it is working pretty well. Once you get it just right, it kind of just plods along happily. Let's put it upside down. It is still tail heavy, so it has a tendency to push up more than I want it to, but it is rather stable. Let's turn it with the rudder. There we go. I mean, it's pretty locked in for a UMX plane. This is not half bad. I really enjoy it. And again, I love that I can work with Hangar 18 to show this stuff to you guys. It's like really cool that it's doing as much as it is. I mean, this is like half inverted Harrier, half just regular inverted flight. I feel confident enough to get it closer to the ground though. Gotta watch out for the people there next to me.
Sorry about that.
You guys are fine, don't worry. It's not gonna hurt you if it hits you. As high as you can see, but I wouldn't push it any further than that. No, there's no real reason to. It's designed to be close to the ground.
What would happen if it would crash if you did that?
I mean, no, it probably wouldn't crash, but it would just be hard to tell where it's going. All right, keep it in a knife edge, keep flying sideways with it. You could probably do a knife edge circle with it, I bet, up in the air, vertical. Snap roll, there we go. Back into snap flaps again to the Harrier mixing. Get it nice and low. I've seen some content on this model out there, but not a whole lot of people doing this stuff with it. So I hope you guys can see that it is pretty good as far as models go. I mean, it doesn't have any inertia, so it's not like the bigger Timber X where it does a lot of cooler stuff.
Battery 11.1 volts.
Let's try rolling turns. Kind of got it until I started getting a little self-conscious that I was getting too close to myself, and some of the runners and stuff coming over here making things get a little weird. There we go, back into Harrier again. Still one of my favorite moves to do with this plane that I've discovered is just fly it like this. It just happily plods along.
Nice flying.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Like I said, if I wanted to be away from people, I wouldn't have come to the park. Let's land it in Harrier, maybe? Not bad. Thank you. I'm going right back up, too. It's kind of hard to keep it in a stable hover, but the closer it is, the better it tends to be, it seems. It doesn't want to stay in the hover, and I feel like it's still pretty tail heavy as it is, so it's like it just isn't really a hovering plane, which kind of is bonkers to me. So we're starting to run low on power. Let's go ahead and bring it up, go vertical, get some more altitude. We're gonna put it into a blender.
Wow, that is so cool.
Flip it upside down.
Whoa, look at that.
Let it invert it flat spin all the way down. Keep it in the inverted Harrier for right now. Here we go.
5 minutes. Battery 11 volts.
Flip it back over. Bring it back in, nice and close. Very stable overall. Just an incredible little model. I mean, you guys are really missing out if you don't get it. Like I said, solid 8 out of 10, maybe even more. If I could get it to hover, maybe 8.5 would be fair. I can get it to hover, but I can't get it to stay hovered. So, of course, I can take the big Timber out here and do the same thing, but I just don't have the roll control that I want. All right, guys, coming in to land. Give me some little bit of space. A couple steps back, please. There we go. That could have been better. I'm going to take up that again and fix it. Sorry I got so close to you there. There we go. This will be a better one. With the flaps this time to slow it down.
Battery 11 volts.
There. Hey, thank you. But yeah, so like initial overall final, or not final, but like initial review on this thing, the linkages are really good. It's kind of rare that you're going to find a model that has ball linkages at this scale. I mean, it's just crazy good for what it is. Honestly, look at the quality of these hinges and everything. For being what it is, this thing looks amazing. The lights are super bright. It's starting to get dark out here and you can still see it really well. I mean, honestly, they knocked it out of the park. You can even use the floats on it. it would just be best if you could get it to stabilize and to hover. I expect the 3D plane to hover, so that's why we're not giving it the solid 9. 8.5 is about where it's at. If I can figure out how to make it hover properly and stay in a hover, then that's what we're going to call it, as a solid 9. It could be a little bit better if I could get more throw out of the elevator and I didn't have to use as much down trim as I'm currently using to keep it flying level, because it's basically, it's very tail heavy with the battery put as far back as I did when I first flew it. So I have to actually shove it to the front, which is kind of strange on a model like this. But hey, just wanted to say thanks to you guys for watching, and of course, you guys know me. We'll see you guys out there. Have a good one.